India will not travel to Pakistan for Champions Trophy 2025. The Board of Control of Cricket in India is set to approach International Cricket Council over this decision. In fact, sources say that this has already been conveyed and will urge ICC to hold games involving India in Dubai or Sri Lanka. This is not for the first time. As per the initial draft of the Champions Trophy, arch rivals India and Pakistan will face off against each other in Lahore on the 1st of March. Pakistan Cricketing Board, according to sources, had assured that India-Pakistan matches would happen in one city, but wouldn't agree to any further. It is key to understand that Team India has not travelled to Pakistan since 2008. And when global events are scheduled in the neighbouring nation, like the last year's Asia Cup, men in blues matches have been held in different countries due to strained political relations. The last bilateral series between the arch rivals was played in India from December 2012 to January 2013. Since then, their encounters have been limited to ICC tournaments and the Asia Cups. In fact, strained political relations, as you can see on your screen, between India and Pakistan and the sport of cricket have very close links at the very heart of the intense sporting rivalry when it comes to the gentleman's game. The rivalry originated, of course, in 1947, the partition and the independence from the British colonial rule. Pakistan and India have since fought 3 wars, and diplomatic ties between both countries have mostly remained bitter or have had very tumultuous ups and downs. The first match, though, between India and Pakistan was way back in 1952. But since then, there have been several India-Pakistan matches that have been called off amid tensions. 1961 to 1978, matches halted due to the 1965-1971 wars. 1984, Indian tour of Pakistan was cancelled midway due to the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's assassination. In 1991, you had Shiv Sena digging up the pitch at Wankhede Stadium, and the entire series was cancelled. In 1991, Pakistan's tour of India was cancelled after Shiv Seniks vandalized the pitch at Wankhede Stadium. This came 2 days before Pakistan was to play a one-day series in India. And in 1999, cricket matches were suspended amid a Kargil war. And in 1999 itself, Shiv Sena disrupted the pitch at Firozshah Kotla to protest Pakistan's visit. It was just 2 days before the then undivided Shiv Sena chief, Balasaheb Thackeray, who said his party would not allow Pakistan cricketers to play despite security arrangements. In fact, in 2008, if you remember, the Mumbai 26-11 attacks literally halted cross-border cricket. And since then, we haven't played an India-Pakistan match in Pakistan. But there are several instances where India-Pakistan have played matches despite heightened tensions. And that's also very interesting to look at, because that's also part of India-Pakistan history, not only between the two countries, but also the sporting history. 1978-79, way back. Cricket resumed between the two countries after 17 years. Earlier to this, it was in 1952, 1955 and 1961 that the series were played. When cricket was halted due to wars, political tensions, it took considerable efforts by India's Morarji Desai, Pakistan's General Zia-ul Haq, for the two countries to play cricket again. Cricket acted as a bridge amid underlying tensions. It was in 1987 that Pakistan toured India for the first series. In fact, Pakistan President Zia-ul Haq visited India to watch the match amid tensions in Kashmir. And this is often seen as the initiation of cricket diplomacy by some experts. Border tensions, though, were soon to return. And we'll give you the reason in a bit. In 1992, the first World Cup encounter in Sydney happened And in the late 1980s to 1990s, matches played at neutral venues like Sharjah, Toronto, known as Friendship Cup in Canada. Amid what was seen as massive support for Pakistan in Sharjah, many of us would remember that. 2005, Pakistan tours India for the ODI series, attempt to replicate the cricket diplomacy as it was referred to often. It was turned into a diplomatic summit over Kashmir. 2011, India-Pakistan World Cup semi-finals believed to have eased relations between prime ministers. In fact, Indian Prime Minister invited Pakistan Prime Minister to view the match. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh greeted Pakistan Prime Minister Raza Gilandi in Mohali. 2023, Pakistan threatens to boycott World Cup in India. Move after India refused to send team to Asia Cup. Pakistan participated in the World Cup in India after the issues seem to have bilaterally resolved. In fact, just how big a draw have India-Pakistan matches really been? And to get a sense of that, that's up on your screen. Look at that number. I mean, all of us know what a draw India-Pakistan matches. We don't need this number, but just to give the context, look at the number. In the last 20 years, 10,000 crore rupees or $1.3 billion has been generated, including revenues from brand sponsorships and sports marketing. This is data according to the industrial body FICCI. In fact, there are several other countries that have refused to play in Pakistan, citing security reasons, some of them being South Africa, West Indies. We've also had New Zealand that refused to tour Pakistan for the T20 series. Australia refused to tour Pakistan for the ODI series as well. You have Bangladesh as well. All of them had cited security reasons as the primary ground. Now, we've given you the background. There's so much that's happening at this point also. I'm being joined by Amek Kuresia, who's a former Indian cricketer. He's, of course, played with Pakistan as well. I'm also being joined by Prabhu Dayal, Vedam Jayashankar, and Faraz Syed. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining. But first, do you allow me some time, allow me a few minutes to spend with Amek Kuresia first. Mr. Amek Kuresia, if I can have you first. You are, of course, an Indian cricketer. You have played the match with Pakistan as well. How do you really look at what's unfolded today? One, the decision to not play in Pakistan. Let's start with that before I ask you the other questions.
I think let us understand one thing, that terrorism is one of the contempt for human dignity. It's the biggest contempt one can look at. And the point is, when you have your Fauji brothers dying, just because there are some terrorist attacks which are happening all over the country. Recently, I think on June 9th, the pilgrims were attacked. And those innocent civilians were also killed. And on June 26th, this IED explosive were being dropped at the Air Force Base very recently. So I think with all these things which are happening around us, so many things which are happening in our soil, which are being done by the groups which are based in Pakistan, and they claim to be the one, then how will we play cricket with them? And why should we play cricket with them? And then leave us. Why to ask us? The entire world doesn't want to go to Pakistan and play cricket. And you know, I did some data crunching, and you'll be surprised to know that maximum people who die in Pakistan because of terrorism are the Pakistani soldiers. 52% or some 51% of soldiers die because of terrorism in Pakistan. So what can you do in a nation where nothing is secured? And how can you think about playing cricket or doing any sort of a cultural activity when your own Fauji brothers are dying? Just because of some sort of bombing, some sort of terrorism, which is being happening from the other side of the border. So I'm perfectly fine with not playing cricket with them. I'm absolutely fine. I'm absolutely spot on over here. Don't play cricket, please. Don't do any activity with them till they sort their house.
In fact, Mr. Amek Kuresia, it's very important to see this in context, as you mentioned. But there's also one aspect, and that is not to play with Pakistan in Pakistan, vis-a-vis playing with Pakistan in another country, say like there seems to have, according to sources, demands made for either Dubai or Sri Lanka. And that's something that's been done in the past as well. How would you look at that?
Well, you have to respect the ICC laws and the spirit of the game also. So you protect your cricketers, you protect the value of cricket, the value of life that you have in your cricketers, and you honor the commitment. This is honoring the commitment by keeping aside the sort of a risk that can be involved by playing in Pakistan. So I totally agree to it. It's absolutely fine. Playing them outside is all right. Till the time you have to honor that commitment. But the point is, imagine if this thing is happening to any other country. I mean, people will never like to go and play in a country like that. It is happening. Or why no country in the world doesn't want to go and play in Pakistan? So I'm fine if you're playing with them outside. I'm fine, because the point is that is the ICC regulation, that is the law, that is the game spirit. You have to maintain that. So you have to keep one door open for a dialogue at some point of time, maybe 5 years, 7 years, 4 years, 10 years. So we're keeping that door open. But at the very same time, we cannot go and play with them in their own country because of security reasons. And you've also seen what happened to Sri Lankan cricketers.
All right.
When they played over there.
Yeah, that's true. And I made reference to that as well.
Yeah, you did.
Amit Quresia, one more question. And this is for you as a player, as a cricketer yourself. How do you play India-Pakistan match? Because you've played it yourself. I mean, we know the rush of it. We know the craze of it as viewers. We know the craze of it as journalists. It takes so many connotations, so many colors. It's no longer just a match when it's played between India and Pakistan. How do you look at it on the field? How does Team India look at it? Can they look at it just as a match? Does that happen?
No, I think so. I still regret in my life that I could not perform against them. So you can understand, your blood boils. That's a fact. If I will say, just trying to be very nice on television, that any question, it's absolutely fine. You play it like a sport. No, sorry. My blood boils. I want to go and perform and beat them left, right, top, bottom, win a match against them. I still feel bad that I could not perform against them. Not because I wanted to be a national hero by performing against them, because the point is, you've been hearing all sorts of stories since you have grown up. You've seen how your soldiers die. You've seen what is happening, what across the border gets you into your table. So you just don't want to lose against them anyhow. And yes, it is always there. It's a different level. It's a different level of thought process. It's a different level of spirit at that point of time. Yes, and it is equally the same on their end also. Let me tell you very honestly. It is not a game which you're playing. It is more than a game. I don't know how you can put it, what sort of a thing you can add to that to make it more than a game. But yes, it is something which is more than a game. And you want to win it. And I regret that I haven't performed against them.
I know, I don't think I want to ask more questions on that, though we all know what that was about. But I can see that it hurts you even today. But just shifting a little bit away, like, what's a kind of a psychological, is it a different level? And I'm asking you questions that, very ordinary people would want to ask you.
Yeah,
I don't know whether this has been asked of you like this. It may be a very basic question. Is there a very different level of a psychological training that goes in before the two teams, India and Pakistan, would meet on the field? Is it a different level of a training? Is it a different level of mental preparation? Or is it the same that would go into any intense match, as it were?
No, I don't think so. Any sort of a training goes into it. But the point is, as you grow up, and like it is England and Australia, it is the same thing that we have. But it is a little more than that because of many wars. Of course, those wars we have won. But the point is, despite that, it is not about that. And I think that is one of the reasons that many people fail and they cannot keep their calm against Pakistan. I mean, cricketers like me, at times, yes, you get excited and you don't maintain your calm. You get you lose that little concentration, because the best way to perform is being relaxed. Your best performance comes out when you're relaxed. So
that's what I was asking, is there any particularly psychological training, any socio effort? Is there any different counseling that would one go through? Because as you said, it's not just cricket alone. It's very much loaded.
Yeah, it is always loaded. The point is, and the reason is I've told you the history. I mean, the history makes a difference, and because of history, these all things come on the table. They are come in your mind. You get conditioned that way from a very young age. So when you
True.
get a chance, get an opportunity, you ask same question to a Fauji, a soldier when they are at the border. They are not letting it go if they get an opportunity, because the point is their blood boils because there's a
All
history
right.
behind it, and that's not a good history. Unfortunately, the history is not good. So it just comes down to everybody who is
Right.
facing playing against even a hockey player. Let's forget cricket. A hockey player, even a kabaddi player, you ask them, they will say no. इनसे तो जीतना ही है, इनसे नहीं हारना.
Okay. All right. Okay. Mr. Ame Khuresia, thank you so much for sparing your time, for sharing your perspective, for sharing your sentiments. You definitely didn't speak just as a cricketer, though that's much of you as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Ame Khuresia. That's what really cricket in India is, and you just about reflected that in a very, very honest conversation.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
And Mr. Prabhu Dayal, if I can come to you. Mr. Prabhu Dayal, you heard the cricketer speak right now. You heard how he spoke. India has seen a lot of shift in diplomacy, as it were. Where it stands today, how do you look at it vis-a-vis cricket and politics, India-Pakistan politics?
Well, you know, sporting ties between India and Pakistan are governed by their political relationship. In Pakistan, it is their military which calls the shots. And the military's doctrine is to bleed India by 1,000 cuts. This doctrine has been stated on a number of occasions at the military colleges of Pakistan. Now, I have served in Pakistan from 81 to 85. That is 4 decades ago. And we had done our level best to promote sporting ties between India and Pakistan as a step towards having a normal bilateral relationship. India toured Pakistan in 1982, again in 1984. And in between, there was a tour by Pakistan. But what has been Pakistan's overall policy? As I said, it wants to bleed India by 1,000 cuts, and it tries to do so by sponsoring terrorism against India. There have been countless terrorist attacks waged by Pakistani non-state actors against India, and these non-state actors, that is to say, these organizations which are trained to carry out terrorism, they act at the behest of the Pakistani military. So when you have Pakistan incessantly carrying out terrorism against India, how can we think of a normalized relationship? And if we don't have a normalized relationship, how can we think of sending our cricket team to go and play in Pakistan, even if it is in an international tournament? So I think the government's decision not to send any cricket team or any team whatsoever to Pakistan is very correct, and I think we should stick to it.
Faraz Syed, if I can have you in, Mr. Faraz Syed. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Faraz Syed. How is Pakistan looking at the demand that India has made, that they're willing to play Pakistan, but it has to be outside Pakistan, not in Pakistan? We believe that BCCI is reaching out to the ICC as well on this. How is Pakistan looking at this?
Now, thank you so much, Sneha, for having me. Going back a year earlier, it was Rajiv, I believe, the vice president of BCCI, who said that the Indian team will fly to Pakistan to play the cricket matches. However, there is one condition, that the central government must, stamp okay to this move, and I believe that BCCI is some kind of under ICC rule that it has to obey, but it is putting the entire decision-making process onto the central government. Now, as far as the reasons that have been cited so far, so BCCI right now hasn't cited any reason, and it has really put the government of India, the central government, to approve or disapprove Team India's visit to Pakistan. But the reasons that have been cited lately by the honorable guests on your panels is that Pakistan somehow sponsors terrorism. Therefore, we're not going to play international cricket matches on Pakistan's soil. I believe that this is kind of a political sloganeering that has been going on for a very long period of time. Now, I want to state some of the opinions that I have been reiterating on many other channels as well. India and China have a checkered history. They have fought ferocious wars. Just in 2020, Chinese killed 20 Indian troops on the border during the border clashes in 2020, which was one of the bloodiest in their history. India and China still have a bilateral trade of over $116 billion.
No, I think India has a very different version on that, but nonetheless, please go ahead. India has a very different version on that, and I will go to Prabhu Dayal on that, but please continue with your point that you were making.
Yeah, the point is, if you can
Sayed,
with
please finish the
Chinese
point.
Who are killing your soldiers, who are taking your land during the land disputes, why not play cricket in Pakistan and put these other matters on the government to government level? Because again, if we have to coexist, we have to play cricket. We have to do other matters. Even for that matter, we also have to open trade with each other. Because again, that's how countries coexist and countries co-survive. Because if we continue to rattle warmongering, that's not how we're going to settle in the subcontinent, which has about 2 billion worth of population. Secondly, if your honorable panelists observe that how somehow Pakistan is sponsoring terrorism, we can also have a counter argument that we are ready to play India on our soil, despite the fact that India, we have approved, and the government of Pakistan has been sending demarches to Indian high commissioners, that how India is involved in sponsoring terrorism in Pakistan, killing Sikh leaders in Pakistan, how India is sponsoring terrorism on Canadian soil, on American soil. But that's a totally different ballgame.
I think, Sayed, let's just talk facts, because this has not even been recognized for that matter by the international bodies that Pakistan has tried to raise this up with. So while Pakistan may raise it in different versions, even the international bodies have not really admitted Pakistan's plea, have not referred to it. But Prabhu Dayal, do you want to respond? There are two parts to what Farah Syed has said. One is ties between India and China, and two is what between India and Pakistan. And of course, that can't two countries play together. We may disagree. We, of course, disagree with what Farah Syed has said. But factually, Prabhu Dayal, I want to go ahead with you before I go to Vedam Jaishankar.
Well, let me clarify that we do not have a fully normalized relationship with China. The Chinese have been wanting to develop an all-round relationship, but we have categorically told them that such a relationship is not possible as long as the situation at the border is not normal. In other words, we are controlling the relationship with China as we think best. As regards imports from China, we need these imports for our industrial requirements. And if we can source them from somewhere else, I'm sure we will do so. As regards trade with Pakistan, let me remind the panelists that it was Pakistan which stopped trade with India. In fact, the Pakistani minister in charge of the economy had said in parliament that Pakistan would reopen trade with India, but he was forced to retract his statement, and Pakistan did not open trade with India. Now, as regards the allegations about carrying out some terrorist acts in Pakistan, assassination of some terrorists over there, these are only allegations. Not an iota of proof has been furnished. Similarly, as regards the allegations which have been made by Canada and some sections of the United States society, these also remain just allegations. But on the other hand, what we say about Pakistan carrying out of terrorist activities in India is proven, it's established, it has been part of the testimony of the terrorist who was captured and who had carried out the terrorist attacks in Mumbai in 2008. So there is a whole lot of evidence which is available and which has been given to the Pakistanis. But on their side, we only hear of allegations. I'm afraid that we cannot have a normalized bilateral relationship with Pakistan. In fact, we don't have one. We don't even have a relationship at the level of high commissioners because Pakistan
And
has
that's where
withdrawn
the
its
context
high
of even the
commissioner.
cricket match is seen, is what you're saying.
Yes, there cannot be cricket matches between India and Pakistan in Pakistan. Our team will not travel either for bilateral matches or for international tournaments if the situation of Pakistan as regards its attitude to India continues the way it has been.
Vedam Jaishankar, if I can come to you at this point. Vedam Jaishankar, the second part of what Faraz Syed said, why can't cricket be seen as cricket? How long can this just go on? How can two countries go on like this? And why can't just sports be sports? Well, of course, you have a lot that's gone on in the history of cricket or history of India-Pakistan for that matter, including what's underway right now. But how do you look at cricket diplomacy that India has also been part of for years in the context of what's unfolding now? Is that chapter a history now?
No, even if you go by history, how long will it continue, he asked. Well, it will continue as long as Pakistan supports terrorism. The day that they stop supporting terrorism and come onto a negotiating table, then everything will be fine. Let's not forget that India has given them a small window in which they left it open. That is, we are willing to play bilateral series. We are not willing to play bilateral series. We are willing to play multinational series outside Pakistan, elsewhere. That's the only concession that we have made. Why we have done it is we have left a window for conversation, for negotiations open. But then the onus is on Pakistan. They have to give up terrorism if they want to move forward. Now, he is talking about China. Well, it's very simple. He has not understood what has happened in China. We have banned more than 100 Chinese softwares. Vivo, which was sponsoring the IPL, could not go further because they were not allowed to invest. So too the Chinese car companies, they can't invest further in India. So some of them are selling out. So there are a lot of restrictions placed on China, but that's a different level. Pakistan doesn't have that kind of investment in India. So we don't need Pakistan. How do you treat Pakistan? Pakistan must understand it's not we who said it, but the former president of the United States, Hillary Clinton, that is Bill Clinton's wife, Hillary Clinton, said very clearly, you can't rear snakes in your backyard and not expect to be bitten. So when he's talking about terrorism in Pakistan, it should be the homegrown terrorism, which is coming back to bite the hand that fed them all these years. He can't just blame it on India without any proof, without understanding. Now let's understand one thing very clearly. India is the driver of cricket. So we are willing to play cricket wherever ICC wants us to play. But we have put condition that it will not be in Pakistan. Whether Pakistan likes it or not, it will not be in Pakistan. The way forward for Pakistan is to give up terrorism. Start supporting India. You're already not welcome in the IPL. You're not welcome in so many events all over the world. So, and nothing is new. Right now, there's a Euro football going on. Russia is not invited to the Euro football. It's not that people don't use sports all the time. There was a Gleneagles agreement where South Africa, which then had apartheid, was not invited to any event. So it's been happening throughout. We have seen boycott of Moscow Olympics. We have seen boycott of so many other Olympics for reasons. So we must understand that sports will also be used. Sports is a low-hanging fruit, but it gets the whole country involved in it. And sure, right now in India, there is a consensus that we will not play Pakistan as long as they support terrorism. Fine, give up terrorism. And then we'll see that, we can make up and do something else. But right now, Pakistan is responsible for all that is happening now.
All right, Vedam Jaishankar, let me just go across to Faraz Syed. Faraz Syed, to what Vedam Jaishankar said, and that is India has not said that we will not play with Pakistan. India is willing to play with Pakistan, but in another country. Multilateral series is a welcome, but it will not play in Pakistan. I understand from what I'm gathering, there was a point when Pakistan said we are willing to have matches with India in one city in Pakistan. But how is Pakistan, how is the establishment there, how are the cricketers there looking at the fact, looking at what India has said that we are not willing to play in Pakistan, but we're willing to play with Pakistan in other countries. How do you look at that? How is Pakistan looking at that primarily?
I mean, as far as the BCCI's decision is concerned, of course, it has the right to decide whether they want to play in Pakistan or not. And of course, it's going to be the ICCI who's going to decide. And of course, it's since BCCI is shouldering its responsibility along with the central government. However, I want to clarify a few of the facts. The very honorable former diplomat you're hosting as a guest here, he said that all of the allegations that have been made in the previous by the Americans, by the Canadians, or by the Pakistanis are only allegations, whereas the Indian point of view on Pakistan being the terror exporter is true. However, I fail to understand whether he's forgetting Commander Kulbhushan Yadav, who was caught in Pakistan on the Iranian Pakistan border, sponsoring terrorism, and he's still in Pakistani prison, languishing in Pakistani prison, while he was a terrorist who was sponsoring terrorism in Pakistani soil. As far as your sports journalist, very honorable, of course, he knows
but this
more
was
about
this was raised at the United Nations as well, and this was absolutely refuted. It was not even backed with any facts. Prabhu Dayal, do you want to respond to that? Because these are things that cannot be left without facts. Prabhu Dayal, please go ahead, respond to that.
Well, Commander Jadhav had been kidnapped from Iran, where he was working. He was working at the Gwadar port. He was kidnapped by Pakistani agents, taken to Pakistan, and all his so-called confessions have been made in custody. They have no legal sanctity whatsoever. And as you pointed out, the matter went to the International Court of Justice, where Pakistan's case has been torn to shreds. Pakistan has no case. If they want that the testimony of Commander Jadhav should be taken seriously, then they should allow him to be interrogated outside Pakistan, not within the military's custody. So, in other words, their case is total balderdash.
Prabhu Dayal, it's the last question. I don't have more time, but I do want to spend a minute on this. Prabhu Dayal, if I can come to you. Both Pakistan leadership at some point, as well as Indian leadership at some point, have shown some extraordinary diplomacy by engaging through cricket. You've had Pakistan heads who have been in India to watch cricket matches. You've had Indian heads, for that matter, who have really initiated and taken forward the cricket diplomacy. How do you look at this with the current cricket lens? Does the absence of this or the presence in the past speak volumes?
We have done everything possible to promote goodwill through cricket diplomacy. We have played in a number of series with Pakistan, both in their country, and invited the Pakistani team here. But the unfortunate part is that Pakistan has not given up its policy of sponsoring terrorism. It has carried out that policy relentlessly and regardless of any effort which we have made towards normalizing our bilateral relationship. So the net outcome has been that we have realized that Pakistan's closeness to the policy of sponsoring terrorism against India is not going to go with. That is ingrained in Pakistan's state policy.
All right.
And therefore, unless they actually give up this policy, not say that they are not carrying out terrorism, but demonstrate through actions that they have given up terrorism, only then can we think of a full-fledged, happy bilateral relationship, which would include, of course, cricketing tours from both sides.
All right, Prabhu Dayal, Vedam Jayashankar, as well as Farad Sayed. I'm afraid we're totally out of time. I'm being told to wrap. Thank you so much for joining us. Cricket is a sport of great passion, as we can see, across fans who come in. It's not just a sport, really. It's a passion, and often, and as has been seen in the history of India and Pakistan ties, it's also seen very closely and reflected with the prism of politics as well. Thank you very much for joining us.